Welcome to Infinity Rewatch, everybody. I am Ryan J. Marvel. I'm sorry, Ryan, but I have trademarked your name. You're no longer able to use it.
Well, you can't because I've been using it. The fans have dubbed me Ryan J. Marvel, and I've been using this as my own personal name since the beginning, since before you wanted to use it with your sham show.
Okay, I guess I'll be Andrew Fantasia then. Whatever.
She Hulk, She Hulk, She Hulk, She Hulk. Oh, so good.
Wow, this was a fun episode. It was another very quick one, very quick one, but it got the job done. It was a very She-Hulk focused episode, which I like. But before we get to that, we'll do a little quick recap, Ryan, because a little bit of stuff happened. And if you're watching this on the Digital Charcuterie YouTube channel, you might notice our background. Our faces are covering it, but our background has a little bit of artwork from something that happened this past week. Ryan, what happened this past week? We got the Willow
Well,
trailer, right? That's what it is.
yeah. First of all, yeah, we had D23 this past weekend, and crazy day. Oh my god, jam packed. Honestly, the show was a lot longer than I had anticipated. I honestly thought Kevin Feige would be like quick and clean, keeping it professional and just coming in. Hey, these are the projects we got. Boom, 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 boom. All right, thank you. Bye, peace, love, everybody. But what excites me is that I don't know. I'm thinking next year we try to go to that thing because that's going to be the Fantastic Four year. I think we need to start the campaign of like we need to go to D23 next year, however they decide to do it.
Ooh, I
But
never even thought of that.
I know, right? That's going to be a year to go because Fantastic Four being announced. Oh my god! So first of all, our predictions were way off, or at least most of them.
Very, yeah, well, all of mine, I think.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure most of mine as well. Um, But you know what? It wasn't a disappointing year. It was still a strong year for Marvel.
Very.
And what's crazy is like they still didn't talk about like half the stuff that was being worked on, right? Like San Diego Comic-Con got a peek at Guardians of the Galaxy, and here they didn't even talk about it. But it was kind of a teachable lesson here. This D23 gave you exactly what's happening next. That is all they did. They literally have focused on where the story is going and giving you exactly what you need to know. And they dropped some great trailers. They dropped that we actually got to see. Now, if you attended the live audience, you got to see a lot more. But they talked about Ant Man and the Wasp: Quantum Mania. They talked about Loki season 2. They talked about Thunderbolts. They talked about Captain America: New Order and dropped a pretty major announcement there. They talked about Daredevil. They talked about Secret Invasion. They talked about the Halloween special, Werewolf by Night, which is confirmed. It's happening. They talked about Ironheart. They talked about man, so many things. I feel like I covered it all, unless I'm forgetting. Oh no, they talked about the Marvels. So they covered quite
Yes.
a wide range of content here, and there's a lot to unpack. First of all, I feel like Loki, they introduced a pretty big actor for it, but we don't know who they're using this actor for, like what character you're using this actor for, how that's going to play in the whole thing, and then play it and talk about that. Interesting enough, yeah. No, the only thing they announced with Fantastic Four is that they announced that the director is confirmed. This director's really good. He's actually really good at dealing with ensemble casts. He is known to be a more comedic director, but after watching what Matt Webb, Mark Webb,
Are you talking about Amazing Spider-Man?
yeah, I'm talking about the Spider-Man director.
Yeah,
Can't
Mark
think of
Webb.
it. Mark Webb, thank you.
Yeah.
After Mark Webb, I watched a little behind the scenes thing that Sony released, and he was talking, and it sounds obvious when I say it out loud back to like our audience here, but he was saying like in the end, I didn't want to make a Spider-Man movie. he said my pitch was, and this is the, and then they like apparently like Marvel and Sony were sold on it from the get-go. He's like, I wanted a John Hughes high school movie with
Oh wait, sorry, you're talking about John Watts, the new Spider-Man stuff.
sorry, John
Oh,
Watts.
okay, yeah.
Yeah. So he's like, with Tom Holland's movies, I wanted to create a John Hughes high school movie that has Spider-Man in it. And that was his goal. And it worked because if you think about it, like freshman year, he was very much like, very much a nerd, starting to like girls, obviously obsessing over Liz, and and then juggling his responsibilities, right? Just like any teenager would. Um, and then the second movie, he's a bit older now. He's more making more mature decisions. And at the same time, he's starting to understand what love is. And then in his final years as a senior, he's a full blown making his own choices. If he creates a problem, he's got to fix it. And so with this new director, this new comedic director, I'm hoping that there's the same kind of look at Fantastic Four. Like, what story are you going to tell? Now, that was a long tangent, but to bring it back to focus here, clearly the next steps of the story is going to be very, very clear. We got Black Panther coming next, and they're still in final cuts, which is pretty dope. And yeah, and of course it's got Namor. People are very excited about Namor. But we did get a little more insight into the story. So this is a war of attrition, and that more people are after the vibranium, and Wakanda's lost its king. That's what we know.
Right. I mean, the second they told the UN that Wakanda has all that vibranium, it's just you're opening the floodgates for trouble, and here it comes. So it's only, and that movie's like less than 2 months away, Ryan. It is coming real soon.
I'm surprised that we have not got a release date for the tickets or the movie's the actual date yet.
Yeah, that's true. It's just still November. I thought it was November like 8th or something, but I don't know. Yeah, you're right. Because when the trailer played, when I went to the movies the other day, it just said November. So yeah, they're playing it fast and loose with these release dates. They're really keeping us in suspense. But you're right about
Tales of Suspense.
I see what you did there. And that was a tale to astonish as well.
Ooh.
You astonished me with that. But you're right about D23. It's like this show was, and a lot of people were poo-pooing on it afterwards because that's what Twitter does. But you have to look at this like if because it's an info dump. It was an info dump. We got so much information. But if you look at,
I'm going to summarize it right now for all those people who are angry out there. It literally answered the question, what's next? And yes, it may not have been as far out as you would have hoped, but that's okay because it's about what's next.
Exactly. That's what we want to know. And yes, the Comic-Con thing is exciting and sexy and flashy because we get the big, chart there that shows us all the logos and stuff. But if this is a car show, Comic-Con is showing us all the different models of cars that they're going to come out with. What D23 did was it said, let's open the door of each car and just look at one thing each car is going to be able to do. And
very well put.
Thank you. I don't think a lot of people were ready for that. And then on top of that, you got all this YouTube hype of people saying they're gonna announce Emily Blunt or what. It's like, relax. Just let Marvel announce what they're gonna announce. So that I think that show went really well for me. The highlights were Werewolf by Night trailer because you're looking at a Universal horror fan, so that trailer was everything to me. And the fact that we are getting Mr. Samuel Stearns finally coming back.
Tim Blake
to lead something. He's going to lead a thing, and Captain America is going to follow.
You know what's interesting about that is it kind of completes. It kind of fully shuts the case on Phase 1. You know what I mean? Like all the villains, everything's all sorted. We've seen them all, except for the one they teased, which was the leader. And now, so many years later, we finally have pulled that character out from phase one, and now we're finally gonna, close that book, which is, in my opinion, is fantastic. I couldn't be happier. And the leader's a fun character. He is a fun character done right. So very much
Uh,
looking forward to it.
this
But
is
it's
beautiful
interesting.
news.
It's interesting because when that happened, the other thing is timing. Now I'm a
Mhm.
little concerned because the leader is a Hulk villain,
Yeah.
and usually the leader is found near the Wrecking Crew. And the
Ah.
Wrecking Crew mentioned that they were working for somebody. And so I'm a little worried that, like, yes, it's exciting to have that announcement. And if I were the actor Tim Blake, I would love to be announced at D23, just being there with all those directors and stuff and other actors. It's just such an honor. But at the same time, I'm a little worried that, like, we know he's out there and we know he's coming. What if they tease him in She-Hulk and then, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like spoiled.
I see what you mean, but that is a good point. Like you're saying, you would have rather just seen him pop up in the show and have that
Hmm.
surprise. Um, well, we know that with timing, they've been pretty precise, especially with the overlap, like getting Kingpin 1 week before we get Charlie Cox, kind of thing.
Yes. Yeah.
And the way they sort of synergize that has been very purposeful. So maybe this announcement does tie into something that's going to happen in She-Hulk. And you're right; it would have been cool to just see him offhand and have that shock value of, oh my god, look who it is. But I think a, a reason that might maybe be their logic behind this is maybe when we see him as leader, whether it's CGI, makeup, whatever, maybe he's going to be totally unrecognizable as Tim Blake Nelson. So maybe they wanted to kind of make that shout out now. Um, that's the only thing I can think of. But I feel like that's like part of their strategy. Like I firmly am in the camp that the reason they didn't give us Fantastic forecasting is because those are going to be characters who pop up, like this whole thing about Doctor Doom potentially popping up in Wakanda Forever. Like it's going to be a thing where it's not going to be announced on a stage. It's going to be revealed when we're sitting in a theater, and then we scream and everybody cries and goes home happy. So maybe this is a different case. I don't know, but you're right. It would have been cool to see him on there with all the forehead veins and
Hmm.
whatnot.
It
So
would no, again, it could still happen. It could easily still happen. Could get a reveal, but I mean, at this time, like at this point, like I'm really trying to keep a moderate level of perception on how these things are going to play out. Like, as much as I think a mutant could be introduced at some point, I mean, we got one with Miss Marvel, but I don't know, like, in terms of an X-Men character now at this point, I don't. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. But yeah, no, but you're absolutely right. It's a good point to make about that, and yeah, I mean, it's just I just hope that if we see the leader in the She-Hulk show, I wish they would have waited, or Kevin Feige could have teased it, and just say, like, hey, just to let you know, we're bringing back an old character. You don't even need to say who, what, when, where, or why, and just leave it at that. And then yes, and then reveal. But yeah, I mean So definitely Captain America: New World Order, very exciting. So yeah, we got Werewolf by Night, and fun fact, we had a call out from one of our friends saying that Man Thing is in the trailer, and there he was, full Man Thing action.
dude, the Man Thing makes me so happy. The fact that he is in there and he's like some next level, like magic. He's in the magic world. He's a big deal. The little I know of Man Thing, he's a big deal in the magic world. He's the protector of the. Is he the protector of the multiverse? Is that what you told me about him? or
Yeah,
somebody told me about.
he's a protector of the multiverse.
Yeah, so this is what a perfect place to put him, right? We're kind of in the saga with the multiverse in it. So him being in there, now I'm just excited to see him in color with the green skin and the red eyes. And I'm assuming Werewolf by Night is all going to be black and white, which is beautiful. I love that. But hopefully, the werewolf comes back and Man Thing comes back, and we get to see them in blazing color somewhere, maybe in Blade.
Maybe.
I don't know.
People are asking for season 2 of Moon Knight for him to cross paths with Werewolf.
Yeah.
And but they did not say anything. Obviously, they're keeping their lock and key on a season 2 of Moon Knight and everything. So that would be pretty cool for sure. The next big one I want to talk about is, of course, I would love to talk about Daredevil, but to be honest, it was literally just a hey, how you doing? Shake hands. Good to see you guys. It's going to be like apparently, quote unquote, a soft reboot, which means like they're going to cherry pick essentially what they want it to be.
Yeah.
Charlie Cox did an interview saying that it's going to be. He says that he doesn't really know, but one cool thing that they got to do with She-Hulk is when he did She-Hulk, you got to see a much lighter tone of Matt Murdock, which was good. It was good to kind of give him that versatility. But Daredevil Born Again, very excited for that. I mean, 18 episodes. That's a lot. That's a lot of coverage. That's essentially like 3 seasons of Daredevil that we've already had technically. And yeah, it's pretty crazy. So I don't know what they're going to try to cram in that, but if you're smart, he's crossed a lot of paths with a lot of different people. So you could make that a critical juncture and have a lot of cross-pollination of characters, which Feige likes to do. But at this point, again, that's just me getting a little ahead of my self. And I think this is also why people got a little disappointed, because everyone who is anyone was all going in saying, we're going to get Wolverine, we're going to get Fantastic Four, we're going to get, Doctor Doom announcement. And you know what? After seeing it, I was a little disappointed as well. I felt that way, but upon reflection, I'm like, no. What did Kevin Feige set out to do? He set out to tell you exactly what's going to happen with this stories. It's all there. It's all at this point. You should not even begin to question where is this going. You know where this is going.
Too many people put the cart before the horse, and they disappointed themselves.
Exactly. And so, but the one I want to talk about that's the most interesting to me is the Thunderbolts. That one to me is very interesting.
It's just going to be them singing the refrain from Bohemian Rhapsody, Thunderbolt Lightning, very, very frightening, for 2 hours.
That's the whole movie. I actually think it's going to be more of the Simpsons Streetcar Named Desire musical. It's just the friend you haven't met kind of thing. The Tipper pledge you won't regret. A stranger's just a friend
you haven't met. Hey, cool, she can fly.
This is her descent into madness. But interesting enough, that wasn't talked about too much. I know we kind of hinted at it, but we didn't deep dive into it. Where's Zemo? Zemo is supposed to be like the leader of the Thunderbolts.
Oh, he'll be there.
And in the show synopsis, he's in it. He's like a big headlining like Zemo and the Thunderbolts kind of thing. And in this thing, they didn't even put him in the picture. They did not even put him in the picture.
He'll be there. He'll be there. Maybe it's their equivalent of the Suicide Squad, and even with the Suicide Squad, there was always like 1 or 2 outlier characters who didn't play, well with the rest of the group, and they just kind of did their own thing. So Zemo will be there. There's no way they're making a Thunderbolts movie without him. He's going to be part of it. Who knows? Maybe he's their adversary, but he's coming. He is coming. Maybe, who knows? Maybe he just didn't even have a new costume, so they didn't feel the need to do this artist's rendition of him.
Well, what I thought was interesting too is they brought back the Red Guardian, which I thought was really out of the far left field here.
Never have guessed that we'd see Red Guardian again.
I know, and the other thing too is, of course, with Red Guardian, we're getting Taskmaster. Now, Taskmaster's been in an interesting debacle with this whole Black Widow movie. It's not the actress's fault. By no means, it's not her fault. This is a good. It's a good. Hey, you get a role like this, you're gonna want to bite it. You want to be part of the history that is the MCU. But I'm a little surprised. I'm a little surprised that they're bringing back Taskmaster just because of the reception of it, which leads me to believe that I think they're gonna do something cool to redeem the character with the fans. I there's a real and why I say that is because of the way the mask is designed in the concept art. It's a bit more characterized, like it has more of a face to it. But I have a feeling they're going to redeem the character in that show. I have a really big feeling that they're going to do that.
Yeah, I think Taskmaster is going to be a lot of fun. And that's another character that I was surprised to see in this, even though we knew she'd be back at some point because she lived, right? So, but when I saw her, I was like, oh, cool. Okay, they're bringing her back pretty quickly. This whole movie basically looks like Black Widow 1.5 in a way. So I really
it does feel like that. It does feel like that, and that's another interesting layer to it because you know what, we got three out of the 6, almost 4 out of 6 characters that are in the Thunderbolts are all related to the Black Widow movie in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting to me. And so yeah, but I'm really curious how they're going to fix Taskmaster because that's going to be a big point of contention. Now, Kevin Feige can completely overlook it and just be like, you know what, it is what it is, and you guys have to accept it. Yeah. But at the same time, Feige's done a good job when fans don't like where a character is going. They kind of steer the character into a new direction.
Right. They're good at kind of not swerving the car into a different lane, but just kind of lightly course correcting so it doesn't feel jarring and making this character, whatever character, feel fresher. For me, the thing that hinges on this movie is we all know these characters are great. We know all these people are fun. We've spent time with them. We know they're going to play well with each other. And it's going to be a fun time and we're going to enjoy ourselves. But to me, this movie is going to be only as good as whoever their opponent is going to be. And I don't know who Thunderbolts, canonically speaking, is used to throwing down with, but whoever they have to be pit up against is, I think, going to make the difference between this being an okay movie and like a movie that we hold up next to like Civil War as one of the greats.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's going to be like another Civil War kind of movie, to be honest with you. It might seem that way because the Thunderbolts are obviously under government jurisdiction. So, I mean, they could finally settle the Avengers. But at this point, the Avengers are disbanded anyway. So I don't know why there would be that kind of conflict. Unless something happens beforehand that reunites them. But we're not seeing an Avengers movie till way after. So
yeah, no, this is it. The Beatles are done. This is Paul McCartney and Wings now. This is what this movie
is. Exactly. You know, but what I can say, and again, let's kind of let my mind go wild for a second here. One part of stories that I'm noticing is getting bigger trends as we watch She-Hulk and Miss Marvel and these Disney Plus shows. Is that superpowered people are popping up everywhere.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, then that's the reason for the Thunderbolts to like take on maybe a superpowered character like Magneto. Doesn't have to be Magneto, but like a character who's clearly too big to tame, or a group that's too big to tame, and you send a cleanup squad to go do it, and this is that squad.
I like it. That's perfect. They're wet work. They're expendable wet work people, and the Contessa is just sending them off with a wave and saying, you know, if you come back alive, maybe I'll throw in a little bonus for you. But if you don't, adios. And then that's it. And that's what they signed up for in a way. So yeah, this is going to be a really interesting progress now to see chart how this movie gets developed and what we end up seeing in terms of the story and details and villain, or rather adversary, because most of them are kind of villains to begin with. So yeah, Thunderbolts is going to be a ton of fun, a great way to close out Phase 5. Oh, and I almost forgot to tell you last week. I did forget to tell you last week, so I'm telling you now. Crazy story. You ever heard of? You ever been to the website Board Game Geek?
Yes.
Okay. So they're like the go-to board game website, right? And they have a YouTube channel. And on their YouTube channel, they'll get a game and they'll just do like a full video that would be like 2 hours long of them sitting around and playing the game and showing how it's played. And I was watching a video that they did because there's an ET board game that came out like a couple months ago. So I was watching this video, and guess who's in their crew playing this game with them?
Is it?
It's
not.
like a
Is
wild
it Will
guess.
Wheaton?
No, it's not Will Wheaton.
Although I love his board game videos. They're so
his are fun.
Yeah, man. Oh,
I think of the most out there guess you could possibly think of, and then go further than that.
I don't know. You think I'm just gonna be able to predict it, but you're giving me such a wild shot in the dark. I mean, like, oh my god, I need like a hint. Like, give me a hint that can help guide me a little bit here.
It's a female.
Okay.
From Marvel.
Wow. Okay. Wild shot in the dark here. And it's okay. Okay, hold on. Give me a second. Is it? Oh man, I feel like it's got to be something super ridiculous. It's not ScarJo. It's not.
No, it's not as mainstream as ScarJo. Think way outside the box.
Is it Mantis?
No, but you're on the right track. In terms of like outside the box.
Oh, is it Karen Gillian?
No.
Oh.
I'll tell you. It's Deborah Ann Wall, the actress who played Karen Page.
Oh, wow.
I'm looking at her, I'm like, damn, that looks a lot like Karen Page. And it is. I'm like, why? She's playing board games with these people. That's just what she does. She's a big gamer in real life, apparently.
Oh man, it's funny. That should have been my first guess, and I'll tell you why. Because I watched a documentary on Dungeons and Dragons, and she was one of the narrators, and she was huge into Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah, but she's a big gamer.
Yeah, I was very surprised when I saw her there, but that's so cool. So I hope somebody casts her. I hope she's already been cast in the Dungeons and Dragons movie that's coming out next year, and if not, somebody get on that and cast her in the sequel.
Well, like, a lot of people. So when Vincent D'Onofrio was rediscovered as Kingpin in Hawkeye, a lot of attention was back on him and Charlie Cox about like their return. Like everyone's like, oh my god. And Vincent D'Onofrio's like, hey, you know what would be great too if Karen Page came back, and then everyone got on the Karen Page train. But yeah, I think that she needs to come back in the MCU. I don't even think she has to be Karen Page again. She could be another character. I mean, this is an opportunity to give her a better limelight and something. But whatever you want to do. But anyway, yeah, no, that's really awesome, man. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, it was fun watching her play the ET board game for an hour and a half. But Karen Page, Ryan, is a lawyer. Guess who else is a lawyer?
Well, Karen, yeah, oh yeah, she ends up becoming a lawyer at the end.
Yeah,
She-Hulk's a lawyer.
She-Hulk's a lawyer.
Be a lawyer.
And she had quite a time this episode because she has to be represented by somebody from her own firm.
Yeah,
and I love what this show is doing. Is it's been taking professions / jobs that are known to be douchey and making fun of them. So obviously you got the lawyer thing because lawyers are known to be douchey people more times than not. And you poke fun at all that. Last week, you all heard me rant and rave about how much I don't like magicians. And we got to make fun of, what was his name? Donnie Storm. Donnie Blaze.
Donnie Blaze,
Donnie Blaze. Yeah, we got to make fun of Donnie Blaze for being a craptacular magician who stole a sling ring. And now this week, we get to poke fun, and hopefully we continue to do so, poke fun at another job that is, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I don't know if it probably sounds mean, but I don't care. Another job that is primarily douchey, which is social media influencers, because that's what Titania is. Right? So we get to poke fun at that and just how fake and ridiculous it all is. And what a great way to make us love to hate a villain. Right? Like it writes itself.
Yeah, no, it's so good. I mean, it's a fun. I think this show is just the perfect level of storytelling and fun. Like it plays on so many character tropes and oh my god, like Madison blew up, by the way. Like
Yes,
anything She-Hulk related now is Madison is like one of the first things that comes up. And of course Wong scenes as well. Yeah, it's pretty crazy, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, this show is pretty fun. I love the trademark battle. I love the way this show plays on the journey of She-Hulk itself. But what's interesting though too is it's the reverse. Like she's more resistant of She-Hulk than in the comics, where she just like totally embraces it, which is really interesting.
And the cartoon too, she's just like, I love being She-Hulk. I love partying. Like they totally did a 180 with that, and it makes for an interesting twist on the character. I wouldn't, if you would have told me beforehand that that's what they were going to do, I would have questioned, like, is that going to work? Because it's the opposite of what She-Hulk is, and we know that the pre-existing She-Hulk works. So is this going to work? But now, having been we're pretty much halfway through this series now, it's working. At least it's working for me. I don't know. Is it working for you?
It's working for me. Honestly, this episode though too was pretty interesting because when they went to the court scene, first of all, they introduced a couple comic book characters in this episode. The first one they introduced was the lawyer that represents She-Hulk. She's actually a character in the comics. She becomes a Jennifer Walters villain in the sense of being like one of the best lawyers ever. Like she's like really good. And in the end, she ultimately becomes her boss.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And we'll talk about the other character a little bit down the road. But yeah, Titania has been fun. I think she's fun. She's kind of like a Kim Kardashian kind of character, which is always nice to see in a sense of like how you can adapt it to the story. And it's I loved how cheeky that was, that like she trademarked the name, which is just so fun. And then the other thing that's interesting about her story too is that like when it came down to, they're like, okay, we're gonna go to recess, but you have to be able to prove that you use the She-Hulk name, that you were using it frequently before Titania took it. And I was like, oh man, does this mean she's gonna go out and just like do something super heroic and like say she's She-Hulk? I'm like, is she gonna get the costume in time? Like, when you sent me the text, I was kind of laughing at myself because I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, oh my god, we're gonna see her She-Hulk mode. But I love that they used the dating profile and how awkward that scene was. Like Isabella's been a good kind of barometer for this whole thing, because like she's actually really enjoying the show. Like she really enjoys it.
Cool.
And yeah, so it's been really funny to watch. And yeah, no, I thought that was going to play out that way, but the dating thing was interesting because I think it's starting to reinforce how better her life is as She-Hulk, and I'm curious to see how Jennifer's going to deal with that.
Yeah, maybe she's going to start feeling the way she feels in the cartoons, where it's like, I like this better. Because I'm pretty sure, Ryan, next week is going to be when we see her. Remember that really early promo of the show where she gets out of a car in like a beautiful silver gown and she goes to like some party? I feel like this fashion dude, he made her that gown. Like that's what we're seeing. She's gonna start embracing the fun. She's gonna start seeing like, ooh, I can have a great time and like live my life as this She-Hulk, and everything's great. She's already starting to go down that road with what she tells her friend. Like, I'm never afraid to walk home alone anymore. I get my hair looks great now. All these things that are like just little things, but they're adding up for her. And once all those pieces start adding up and coming into place, I mean, this episode was literally about her claiming her name. So it's just another piece to add to that. Then we're going to see her fully formed, for lack of a better term. And then we'll get that version of She-Hulk that we're all familiar with. So I really like that they're doing it in this really cool way where they just build up to it first, and taking the time, because we do have these 9 episodes, so they're taking the time with it. That makes me really, really happy.
Yes, it does. Yes, it's. I'm sure it's really living up to your pacing for this show, because we're mid-season now. We just hit the mid-season mark, but at the same time, again, for me, it's what I would expect from a She-Hulk show, which is the lawyer stuff, and then superhero stuff on the side, and that kind of, like, I wasn't. This show is pretty much exactly what I was expecting from it. It was, honestly, it's been kind of the perfect balance. Now, am I a bit worried because we're mid-season now and like we gotta strike while the iron's hot here? Like we're really cooking now. So we have a great show. But to be fair, like obviously Titania is her main villain, but like how is this going to escalate to a point where they're going to throw down in a classic hero versus villain kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, well, thankfully we have 4 episodes left, and we are getting the ball rolling on Titania. Because you got to remember, if this was any other Marvel show, we'd only have 1 episode left, right? So we're at the point where it's like we're like, oh, okay, we're about to see the end, but no, with She-Hulk, we still have this little time to stretch out before us, which is beautiful. So I think Titania is going to be there along with us for this ride, and she's going to show up and she's going to be like, hey, what's up, Jen? I'm mad that you did this this trial and you humiliated me and whatever, because they've said she has powers. They, in this episode, they called her a super powered,
a mediocre superpowered,
mediocre superpowered influencer. So she's got powers. We don't know where they came from, but that might be irrelevant. So it's not like she has to, like, it's not like we have to watch Titania go through this whole origin now where she's like, let me jump in this acid and see what happens. Like, she's already there. The next episode could literally start with her knocking on Jen's door and punching her in the face, and then we're in. So the Titania of it all is already happening. I don't feel like we did have to wait a bit to get to her, but I don't feel like we need to start it. I feel like it has already started and it's underway.
So, my brother Fantasia, let me ask you this: what are the odds that Titania is gonna help Jennifer Walters recognize that to embrace her like She-Hulk ways?
That's a great question, and I think it's perfect coming from her because she is an influencer. So her whole thing is all about vanity, right?
Strength is beauty, and beauty is strength.
Yeah. Strength is beauty, and beauty is strength. That slogan, man. That's her. The way they set up Titania's whole site and her image, and like just the way it's flawless satire. But yeah, I think that the idea of her influencing Jen in a bad way could totally work, because let's say Jen goes to this party that we see in this silver dress, and Titania's like, you know what? You're not so bad. You remind me a lot of me. We should stop feuding and put our resources together, blah, blah, blah. And being a bad influence, because that's what influencers do, is they influence. So if she's a bad influence to Jen, and then something happens, whether Bruce comes back or Jen's friend or somebody, gets her to kind of snap out of it and be like, you got to make your own choices here. Don't let this person dictate what you do. You be She-Hulk when it's right for you, and you be Jen when it's right for you. But don't ever let it become a thing where one gets in the other's way, and definitely don't let it be because this lady said you should do it. So I think the odds of what you said happening, they should happen. and I think they will. I think we're going to go with the 74%. What about you? What do you think?
That's a healthy number.
It is a healthy number.
I think they've learned a lot from Black Panther in terms of villains, and I think that yes, I think actually the odds are pretty high that that this could happen because one thing that Titania is doing is she's doing the opposite of what Jen's doing. Is that Jen runs away from attention, and the tension that will define her, and Titania embraces what defines her, and she really owns it. And I think through challenging She-Hulk or Jennifer Walters is going to start to realize, like, you know what, if you can't like beat them in a way, you join them in the sense of like she's going to kind of start to really like, you know what, I don't want to be an anonymous lawyer now, you know what, because being She-Hulk has allowed me to be like get these opportunities and move up and be more out there. So I need to start embracing that strength is beauty and beauty is strength, right? Like I have a feeling that's how the conflict is going to be created, and it's a perfect conflict of that Marvel heart and soul, that like embracing who you are and what, you know, embracing who you are in your past and everything, and kind of bring it all together. It's a perfect kind of Marvel superhero, you know, story, and that's what we want to see, right?
I like that a lot. It's very sweet, and it's like Mean Girls. It's she's doing reconnaissance and being like, I'm gonna pretend to be one of these mean girls just to mess with them. And the next thing you know, she's like, I kind of like this because I get power and status and everything is great and I dress nice, and that's going to impact her relationship with the friends that are actually her friends. Now I'm looking forward to seeing this. They better.
Well, we still have. I think we know we have a Matt Murdock cameo coming up, or at least an episode. I'm told it's going to be an episode, but we'll see. I'm very much looking forward to it. It's from what I saw in the mid-season trailer, which I wish they never put it in, but it looks like they're having that conversation from the comics, as mentioned before. But yeah, so speaking of She-Hulk embracing who she is, we get the oh hey Cabbage, we get he does. That's
hi
Cabbage.
Can you go? Put Fiona's entire head in his mouth. I'm sorry.
I could.
Hi, Fantasia.
Hello.
I love you.
I love you too.
What?
Can you guys can you guys dye Cabbage's fur green while the show is running?
I can't. I would love to dye Cabbage's fur green, but that's animal abuse. We can't do that.
You want to get in the camera? You want to get in the camera?
Here he is. Dog appearance. Dog cameo.
Everybody doing the audio only is missing out on this Cabbage action right now. Cabbage is like, I have opinions about She-Hulk too. Why isn't anybody asking me?
So we have this like Edna Mode character near the end, near the middle to the end, where Pugs takes Nikki to this underground fashion hero designer, which is super fun. There's the funny black suit, the black suit with the nipples, which is kind of like a Batman Forever nod. But the interesting thing about this character is I think is going to be a nod to Frogman.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about Frogman. I forgot this guy's in the show too. That's who this designer is?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe that this character, his name is Eugene Palito, and in the comics he becomes the Frogman. So that's it's kind of setting up a character that we're going to see in that Frogman in the trailer. That I think that's him wearing the suit that flies.
That's cool. I was going to ask you about this designer dude because I was like, he seems like a big deal, like somebody that they would take from the comics. Like, he doesn't seem like he's just made up for the show. And I totally forgot Frogman was a thing. So we're getting a Frogman apparently in the next 4 weeks.
Yes, we're gonna get a Frogman, and Frogman was working on a specific little helmet there, which was pretty interesting. A nice little quick nod there, which I'm pretty sure was our end credit sequence, because like I don't know how you top that personally.
Yeah, I guess so, because this is the only episode so far that has not had something after the credits. So
Right?
maybe
Well,
they just moved it up.
they're like, "Oh, the order's ready." Daredevil's helmet. Like it's
Yeah.
it's just so out there. Yeah, the yellow and red is coming soon to a Disney Plus series near you, and we know it's coming now. It's out there, and again, like it just irks me that they put Daredevil in the trailer. Like, why? Why?
Nothing's a surprise. Well, you know what? They have continuously surprised us with stuff, so I get it. But yeah, this because Daredevil's popping up in so many other things, like his own show and Echo and whatever. So they could have just told us about those. And you're right, left him out of this trailer, and then had that be like, "Oh, surprise! I'm here." But hey, it is what it is. I'm happy he's going to be wearing yellow. And I'm most happy though, like all Daredevil aside, that this episode ended up being a Jennifer episode, because those are important, and especially Jennifer and Titania, because she's a big deal in this show, I'm assuming. So as much as the helmet was cool, and as much as I loved Wong and all that stuff, I'm very glad that this is about our two leads, essentially our hero and our main hero and our main villain, because we need that for storytelling. We need it. I don't know why I'm talking like Marlon Brando now, but it has to be a thing. It has to happen.
Need it. And with already comes the sun.
Oh my God, that's so. You've been holding out on me, man. Where's that Brando been? This is what, our like 200th podcast.
That's a good question, actually. I don't know how many episodes it's been. Yeah, no, I love that. Just Marlon Brando, man. Superman 1 and 2. Just be still, my beating heart. You'll be my first son, the son of Krypton. I love.
Good people come if they wish to be.
See, you got it too, man. You're amazing at it. Yeah, no, but yeah. So this show is shaping up really well. We're at the mid-season point, so we have 4 episodes left of 30 minutes each, 30-ish minutes each.
Mm-hmm.
So this show really needs to continue its positive momentum, but they need to start really hitting hard at some point, which is good because at the same time, like, I hope that the last 3 episodes, like I can probably deal with one more kind of story building episode, but the last 3 need to be hard hitting, fun drops of stuff.
Yeah, and it'd be nice if the last 3 skewed a little longer. Like if they were 40 minutes each, just that little extra time makes a world of difference.
It does, absolutely.
Yeah, so here's hoping that's what we end up with.
But here's hoping. But in the end, it's been an absolute blast with the show. I'm beyond impressed. I couldn't be happier that they've done it this way. And you got to remember too, before the show came out, there was a lot of controversy if this show was going to work. They were really concerned that they didn't know how it was going to play out. But I'm starting to realize when I hear stuff like that, that either means it's going to make or break. Like there's no people just being like, it was good. No, I think this is one of those make or break shows easily.
Yeah, and I'm sure everybody back in 2014 or whatever was like, they're making Guardians of the Galaxy. Is that going to work? That sounds weird. And here we are.
Here we are where James Gunn's sitting on, this big. I actually watched Guardians while I was working a few days ago, and it was a fun ride. It was nonstop fun.
That movie is a complete joy. Complete joy. And if the third one is as good as we hope it is, then that's going to go down in history as one of the best trilogies like ever. And
as a man who loves Ready Player One and also respects the art of trilogies,
yes,
it's going to probably be the best trilogy for you.
It's going to be a holy trilogy. without if it ends up being as good as I hope it is. And we already have 2 in this franchise. As far as I'm concerned, Captain America and Avengers are both holy trilogies, and maybe even Spider-Man. I think maybe
No, 100%.
Yeah,
I don't
so.
even. I would not even debate Spider-Man. That is a holy trilogy. In its, I am still debating if I'm gonna go see this extended cut. But I don't think I am. I really don't think they're gonna have a lot to offer. That's gonna be like, you know.
I heard it's really not anything to write home about. It's stuff that would have just been fine on a DVD, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It was a strange thing to do. I'm sure it puts more money in Sony's bank, but hey, I mean, we'll see it eventually. I want to give a shout out though to Renee Elise Goldsberry, who plays, I don't know her name, but who plays Jennifer's lawyer in this episode. Because she had, first of all, she's from Hamilton. She plays Angelica Schuyler in Hamilton. She's got a kick-ass voice. She's amazing. She can sing so fast. But she has, in my opinion, not only the funniest line in this episode, Ryan, but one of the funniest lines we've gotten in the series so far, where she's judging She-Hulk's attire, and she's basically saying, "You look like an NFL player who's contesting a DUI." 100%. The writing team, 100%. That you guys killed it. That's exactly how she looks.
I believe her name is, the character's name is Mallory Brooke.
Mallory Brooke. All right.
Yeah, it's Mallory. Mallory Book.
Book. Okay,
Yes.
I like books, so there we go. I know I'm gonna like her. Well, any other final thoughts on episode 5, Ryan, before we wrap it up today?
This show is awesome. I texted you how excited I was this morning. I definitely foresee myself watching the series back to back, like once the whole thing comes out, because it's just been too much fun.
Oh yeah, this is the one that I've been wanting to rewatch the most so far, and it's not even done yet. So yeah, I'm in agreements.
No.
Agreements?
Like Loki,
that doesn't make sense.
Loki was the only other one that I definitely wanted to rewatch, but I didn't rewatch every single episode. But I watched like the last 2 or 3, or no, sorry, it was the first episode, and then the second last and last episode was the one I watched, because it was just pure, absolute amazingness. I thought I was going to get back to Falcon and Winter Soldier, but I didn't get back as quickly or as excited. I mean, I'm excited that they're still continuing with the Isaiah Bradley story and like how he was a Captain America at one point.
Right.
Because if you do it right, and because like that episode was amazing, but it didn't give it enough time. Like they should have given that character a lot more screen time. And actually did some visuals from like when he was telling his story, but which would have been really cool. Kind of like the same kind of flashbacks, which I understand would be time consuming, but if Isaiah Bradley had the same kind of flashbacks Cap did in the first Avengers movie, that would have been really cool as he was telling the story.
Yeah, that would have been neat. Well, I think I heard through the grapevine that he's apparently in New World Order.
He is. No, he was confirmed to be there. He was one of the people standing there.
Oh, perfect. Okay, yeah. So this grapevine I'm talking about is a grape field that everybody had access to.
You were in the grape field.
It was a giant vat of wine that we were all swimming in together, is what it was.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll get that, because Isaiah Bradley really was a cool character, and he was one of the standout new characters on that show. I actually have not gone back and watched. I've not gone back and rewatched any of the shows yet, so I'm really excited to do that, particularly with WandaVision, because that's still my favorite one. And just to get to do that, sit in that pilot seat and already know where the plane is going, and just kind of watch it with that perspective, because it really, the weekly release schedule really plays well in the rewatchability thing.
Absolutely. Like I'm watching through the MCU right now, but I'll watch like the movies as I work, just because like I said, I've seen most of them and everything.
Yeah.
But the movies are definitely really time consuming. Like you can't like for me, like sometimes I have to pause. I hate to pause and leave a movie and then like come back sometimes.
Yeah.
But like I said, I've seen these movies like a trillion times. Like I know I like once I start seeing a scene, I can start like reciting the lines kind of thing. But yeah, I find the Disney Plus series. I can't wait to get to that part because it's a lot more digestible.
Yes, and it's a different experience because you didn't get to see it that way the first time around. With movies, you're always kind of seeing it the same way, so
No.
it's almost like two things in one. That's why I do prefer the weekly releases to just binging things. Though I will admit, I binged the hell out of Cobra Kai season 5, Ryan, because that is still to this day one of the greatest TV shows ever made.
Cobra
And
Kai, Cobra Kai, Cobra Kai,
Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai,
My
Cobra Kai.
God, I don't know if you've watched it yet, but it is beautiful. It is glorious.
Season 1, Isabella and I loved every second of it, and we like binged it as hard as we could. And then season 2, Isabella bailed, and once she bailed, that ruins my opportunities of finishing a show.
Oh no!
Or sorry, it doesn't ruin. It just diminishes my opportunities to get through it because I have to watch it on my own time.
Right. So you've only seen season 1?
I've seen all the way up to season 4.
Oh, okay. All right. So it took you some time.
It takes me a lot longer, yeah. But I will get around to it. I honestly, one thing I will say about Cobra Kai
is that it never dies.
Cobra Kai never dies. That is a really great example on how to revive a cult classic and build on strictly lore.
Yes.
That's what the show does. It focuses on the lore of the whole
1000%.
world.
And to me, it's still the best legacy sequel that's ever been made.
Absolutely. And that's why that and like, I'm sure this is a bit more controversial, but like Ghostbusters Afterlife, like you focus on how you focus on the consequences it's made to the world. And you use a character that will connect everything from like old generation to new generation and kind of use that character as the vessel to bring it through. But Cobra Kai, like it's easy to say, it's super hard to do, but Cobra Kai did it. That's all I can say. Cobra Kai did it.
They found a way. And you can tell they love those movies.
Oh yeah, but and the other craziest thing about it is like, if you were to just watch those 3 movies and then look at the show, you would be like if you watched the show first and went back to the movies, you'd be like, the movies gave you nothing.
Yeah.
Like the movies gave you a story about a kid and that's it. Like that's as far as you can take it. This gave it a whole like turf war story about Vietnam and like, why the guy was the way he was. Like they built out an entire lore around the Karate Kid. And if you say that out loud, it sounds stupid. Like it sounds so stupid. But then you watch the show and you're like, that is brilliant.
It's inconceivable how well that show has done. I'm Cobra Kai for life as far as I'm concerned.
Honestly, like you could easily try to do the same thing with Princess Bride, and it would be hit or miss. Because that's just my point. Like you have this one movie, you have all these great characters, but all you know is the context of the movie. That's it.
Right. Apparently, the people who created the show, the next thing they want to tackle is Ferris Bueller. And that's what they're working on right now. Yeah.
How? That's like tackling the Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
Like
I don't.
Like it's one movie.
Apparently, from what I read, it's not even going to have. It's at least for now. It's not going to focus on the main characters. It's going to focus on what different side characters were doing on the same day that Ferris was skipping school. So, like the 2 guys who steal the Ferrari, some of the kids in the class, like etc. So it's going to be different from what they've done with Cobra Kai, but that's their next sort of game plan once they're done.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I love that. I would love to sit down with that creative team and just I'd be like, teach me. I'm a blank slate.
1,000%. Oh my god! But
that and the Rick and Morty team. But like, yeah,
we got to start a Cobra Kai podcast. That's got to happen. All right. So where can the people find you when you're not in the dojo defending Miyagi-Do's honor?
Well, you can find me waxing on and waxing off at twitch.tv/Xbox Canada. You can also find me on Twitter at Crusader Online, and you can find me just being my old self on Instagram at Ryan J. Whitehead.
Yay! And you can find me on Titania's website buying facial creams that are not FDA approved. And then you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Andrew Fantasia, and on the Andrew Fantasia YouTube channel, and here and on the Rebel Scum Podcast Network as well. So until next week, until She-Hulk episode 6. First of all, I want to wish you, sir, and Isabella, a very wonderful, happy, amazing party on Monday. I'm so sorry again I couldn't be there to party with you guys like a rock star, but I just hope you have an amazing time. That is everything we want.
Thank you very much. You will be sorely missed. It's going to be we have one last week before everything gets going. But it's been a long time coming, and we really need to get this reception done.
I know, right?
Oh, jeez. But thank you so much. We're very much looking forward to it.
Awesome. I hope it's great, sir, and I hope you and everybody else has a marvelous day.